So hi everybody, welcome to our second Brown Bag Brunch series. So this is our second event, and as I said in the first one, I'm just going to introduce the series a little bit. So it's a new series. It's a kind of short presentations, opportunities for people who are doing some research work, and it may be work in progress or some impact or engagement work. It's a very safe space, developmental space for people to share ideas, to get feedback, and to further develop the ideas further. We have our doctoral students presenting, and we will have some of our colleagues from the International Education Institute as well later on. So we have these events every month, and it will be online around, brunch time, breakfast, lunch, if you're based in the UK. All of these events will be recorded because I know people are based in different locations. And just for everybody's information, you can find the recordings on Moodle, and that's under PG information. There's a dedicated section for the BBB series. So today we have our DProf student, Thomas Strenger, here to share with us his project on developing a language learner autonomy research portal. And I think it's an excellent topic, and it's not only because it's about an important topic, I think it's also about an artifact or a resource that could potentially be included as part of the DProf portfolio, because I think we talked about having more than just papers as potential outputs for portfolios. So I really look forward to seeing that example and, how this idea was conceived. So I will hand over to you, Thomas, and take it away.
All right, sure. Thank you very much. Can everyone see my screen and hear me fine?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for that introduction. And today I'm going to be talking about my experiences building this language learner autonomy research portal for the Brown Bag Brunch session. I just had a very hasty, rapid brunch in the evening time here in Japan, but I thought had better have some before I talk to all of you guys. So I just wanted to start off by saying that I don't have any coding or technological really background, to do with, the kind of like the back end of computers or website design at all. So I was starting from a very kind of novice point of view, which I hope will be kind of useful for, I assume, the majority of the people here or that might be listening to this, and that such things as I have managed to do so far have been done with the minimum level of kind of technical knowledge and expertise required. With that in mind, I'll kind of plug on. So just very basically, the purpose of the website is to provide some kind of online portal for hosting different resources for autonomy. And what I wanted to do today was, as Sin Wang said, just kind of give a very informal or casual presentation about the website and how kind of the idea came to be with me and the kind of practical aspects of the process of getting it online, and how I kind of developed things like the layout, over time, and various kind of successes and challenges I've had with that. So really what I hoped it would be for the audience, so people watching, is some kind of practical guide, and hopefully kind of spur your own creativity and ideas in that way. And for me, what I was hoping to get out of it is, really this is a very nascent or early stages project. So I'm hopefully looking to get some kind of practical feedback on kind of user testing, as it were, on the website and how it's doing. Okay, so first I'll just talk a little bit about myself, and then very broad brushstrokes, the objectives of my research that I'm hoping to do, and then talk a little bit about the stages I went through planning the website, what are the different tools that I used to create it, how I laid everything out, what I've prepared in terms of the content of the website so far, the different kind of features and functions that there are, and the few ideas that I do have for how I want it to develop. And then I'm really hoping to leave some time at the end there for feedback from people here in the audience. Okay. So first off, a little bit about me. I'm an English language teacher. I've been working in Japan for more than 15 years. I'm currently working at Kwansei Gakuin University in Hyogo, Japan, and I'm an instructor of English as a foreign language. And I'm also on the DProf second year. I've just gone into my second year. I'm also a fellow of the UK Higher Education Academy, and I'm broadly interested in how learners and teachers develop, and in particular that focus is on autonomy. And I got into that topic really because it's big across Asia, as many of you may know, but in particular in Japan, where there's a lot of kind of inertia that moves people through the education system, and people are not always sure why they are there or why are they doing what they're doing. And I think it's important for us who are involved in teaching and education to help students find what it might be that they might be interested in pursuing this subject, and giving them the tools that they can use to go at it more independently. So as Sinwang mentioned, these part of the website is the kind of idea for it might be that it sits alongside the professional projects portfolio that we have to do as part of the DProf course. Okay, so broadly, I'm hoping, because we're still going through the stages of planning, what these projects might look like now, but broadly the focus is going to be on empowerment, as I was mentioning. So kind of exploring different ways to enhance autonomy for different groups, students and teachers in Japan. And as you might expect with one of these doctoral research projects, looking at that area from a few different angles. So from a conceptual angle, right, how can we understand this idea of autonomy, and also doing a systematic review of the literature. So how has autonomy been investigated? And then doing some kind of primary work, so student and teacher facing research projects, so looking at impact of classroom activities. And so then the role of this portal, of the website, alongside that might be two. And the public one might be to provide supportive resources for students, teachers, researchers, and so on. And then in a more personal sense, the role of it might be to complement what I might call more traditional research outputs, like papers, right, in journals and so on. Okay, so it would be a kind of non-traditional submission, right? I was thinking as part of my professional projects portfolio, okay, that can help me enhance the impact of my work, or indeed demonstrates that it has been impactful. Okay, but that's not actually where I started that journey. That's where it's got to so far. So let me pull it back a few steps. First, how I actually got started, and here is the big plug for the grad skills workshop, which I took back in January 19th. Seems like a long time ago now, with Dr. Joanna Young. And you can see I put the screen cap of the title slide there. Build a research website in under 3 hours. And I highly, highly recommend this website. It's well worth your time, like many of the grad skills workshops are. But if this is something that you're interested in, the speaker, Dr. Young, she's very knowledgeable and very, very helpful. There's a lot of practical time built in there for hand-holding, teaching you how to think about functionality of a website, kind of customizing design, layout of a page, how to do menus, hyperlinking, things like that, and no coding required, which is the best part, right? And other than that, she really as an academic herself, she kind of encourages us to think about broader questions like what's the intended audience, and what's the purpose of the site? Are you there building your public profile? And that was actually what brought me to this first, was that I wanted to just build a personal research website for myself. That was actually my initial aim. So when I was setting up the pure profile on St. Andrews, I thought it might be nice to have a kind of adjacent thing that was just my own. So that was actually after the grad skills workshop, the first thing I did was just to build a personal research website, and I thought that was a great outcome from a 3-hour workshop from there. So, and that's totally free, and you guys can all do that. I took the liberty of researching when the next upcoming ones are for you guys, so you can see them there on the screen. It's Thursday 9th of November 2023, and then there's another one in January. So if that's something you're interested in, you should definitely jump right in and go do that there. Okay, so from there, how I actually kind of got more onto the path that I'm on now with it was actually a suggestion from my supervisor. I was telling him, Owen, about what I had done, attending these various workshops, and he kind of started playing around with the idea of integrating it in some way into my portfolio eventually with me. So it wasn't where I was initially with it, but then that was what got the ball rolling. And then the next step you have to do from there is, on this grad skills workshop, they'll teach you how to build a personal website on there. But what you actually can do if you want is get an official St. Andrews WordPress account. Okay, but you need to apply for it and gain approval. There are various rules that you have to follow. It has to be research focused in some way. It can't be for purely personal promotion. But all you need to do is to go to that web address that I've listed on the screen, and you nominate a member of staff deputy, who will basically be the same status as you in terms of kind of editing privileges of the website, and have a very rough idea of what the site title is and the purpose of it might be. And one of the benefits of doing it this way is you get to request a personal URL like that, whereas the free version, it's a kind of auto-generated kind of clunky URL, maybe some numbers and symbols and underscores and things. It doesn't look very appealing. If you go this route, you can kind of choose something that is more kind of reflective of what you want. The approval process when I did it was actually very fast. I applied on May 5th and it was approved 4 days later. So that was, very speedy as far as I was concerned. And some of the other really useful services, I suppose you could call it, that St. Andrews has available is they have various teams, an open access research team and an engagement and impact team, and they're there. You can consult with them about what the purpose of your particular page might be. Is it for producing research or promoting research? And they'll help you to think long term about enhancing the profile of it, or thinking about long term data storage and things like that. So that's something else that's available to you when you get down the process there. Okay, so I highly recommend that too. So I got started then, and the tool I used, as I mentioned, was WordPress, which is both the tool in this grad skills workshop that they introduce, and it's what St. Andrews has the official page for as well. It's really, really easy to use. It's just a graphic interface for very, very basic web design with no coding experience required. It's all incredibly easy to use. For imagery, I looked for public domain photography that was under a Creative Commons license, like this picture I found from a conference that I presented at, and the photographer had been there, so I didn't have any copyright issues with there. For video, audio hosting, I've been mostly hosting things on third-party sites and then just linking to them so far, like YouTube, for example, for videos. I may consider switching that to Stream, which is, I think, probably maybe a little bit better, especially because I know a lot of the audience for learner autonomy projects might be in China, and I think YouTube is probably not accessible to much of the audience in China, so I might consider moving some of those video resources over to Stream. I also integrated the Pure database into it, linking to my personal profile. And some of the reasons for me hosting the larger media things on third-party sites was there's a fairly small storage limit there of what you can host on the St. Andrews page. It was only 1,000 megabytes or so, I think. So again, something practical to think about if you're thinking of hosting lots of large media files on there. You might want to think about alternative storage arrangements, but I've managed to make it work so far. Okay. So What I've come up with so far is I just started with a very, very basic landing page. That was the first thing that I made. And then at first I, just put all of the information that I wanted on there. And then I started, thinking that, well, that looks a bit messy. It doesn't really lead people nicely into kind of the different buckets of information that I want to present to them. So then I started thinking about, what are the different audiences for the page. So it's something I encourage you to do as well if you want to build your own website this way. So I kind of started subdividing the website by the audience. There's a section for learners, a section for teachers, and a section for researchers. So that was the next iteration of the page. And then I started just hosting resources immediately on those different audience pages. And then as I started adding more and more information, the page started to get more and more cluttered. And I realized that I wanted to add another layer in there. So then from the audience page, now it kind of splits off onto different sub pages for each of the different resources that are being hosted there. So that's a very, very basic flow diagram there, kind of showing the layout of the website, and also just the kind of timeline stages that I went through in its creation as well. So here you can see some of the basic content. Here's the splash page or the landing page for the learners section, right? So it's really thinking about what might each. I'm not showing you the resources themselves. This is just the audience page. So one's for learners, teachers, and different ones for researchers. So again, my guiding question to myself in each section was, what does each audience need? So the format of the information might be different, like the means of presenting information or the functionality that's there. So for the learners section, there'll be things like links to learner resources or an option for feature suggestion. So learners can maybe recommend a tool for language learning that they found particularly helpful. In the teachers section, I linked to a podcast that on the topic of learner autonomy that I was very graciously invited by Sinwang to do on there, and other videos that I've done presenting learner autonomy focused kind of teaching related research activities. And then for the researcher section, and it's definitely the most work in progress one, but I'm hoping to build that out to include things like data sets or more purely research focused presentations, or maybe even hosting research instruments on there as well. So I had what you might call a soft launch for this page rather than a hard launch where the final product is delivered ready to go and it's all functioning. So really I just got it up, and I've been building the plane as I'm flying it, as it were. So the kind of testing and evaluating how the page is going, gathering feedback from different sources and identifying different problems with it and making adjustments. It's really been mostly just me at the moment. I haven't had that much opportunity to publicize it beyond that. And I haven't promoted the website too much. So really just me testing with my computer or my tablet or smartphone, like how does the page look on different devices, that kind of thing. But you can see on the right side there, I've included a few basic statistics that you can get from the WordPress page about your kind of lifetime or recent usage or views of the page, which if you're thinking about enhancing impact or demonstrating impact rather, I should say, of your work, might be quite a useful thing to consider there. Okay. And so as for the future, I've got a few different ideas of kind of ways that I think I might build it out over the coming years. So there might be kind of skill assessment, self-assessment tools on there, like vocabulary tests for students, different skill area resources, or learning strategy advices or goal setting tools, or as I mentioned, like student case studies, kind of in their own words, students recommending different learning materials in there. In the teachers section, I was thinking more about, how most teachers just want materials that are ready to go, that are kind of autonomy focused. So I might consider building out lesson plans or lesson materials in there that are just plug and play, or other kind of CPD, professional development, with an autonomy focused links. There's a place here in Japan called Relay, and they have a lot of language learner advisor training materials, so possibly linking to resources like that to kind of higher profile. And again, maybe even a teacher kind of case study, teachers that promote autonomy, kind of talking about themselves in their own context, in their own words. And as for the researchers section, I think part of it will be collecting kind of seminal papers of other people, or perhaps my own, on there, linking to them, listing up my own professional projects and data sets that are associated with them, upcoming events. And yeah, another idea I was playing around with here was maybe even speaking to researchers themselves and seeing, would they like to kind of talk about themselves, their own kind of path into studying this field. So those are the kind of ideas that I had so far, like to think about this. But as I've mentioned, it's really just been me thinking of these things and playing with this so far. So what I'd really like is some help, some feedback on the functionality of the page, advice about how to promote it more, on the content. So that you may have noticed there's been a QR code up in the top left corner of the screen the whole time. I assume most people here are on a computer. So if you want to go to that on a smartphone, you can open it up straight from there, or I'll drop this in the chat, this link here, right? And I'd really like some kind of feedback on the functionality. If there are any usability issues with the page, things that you think are really, really useful, unuseful, and like not helpful. Or if you have any burning suggestions for how best I can promote the page, and any specific kind of content that you think it would behoove the website to have more of, or anything you think there should be less of. It's all very, very useful feedback. Let me just close this and see if I can drop that URL into the. Oh, I don't know how can I do that? How can I put that in the chat? Okay. Oh, Benjamin, very helpful. Thank you. You beat me to it. I appreciate that very much. I'll just put it in there just for the sake of doing that. So I'll put that up there now, and yeah, I'll maybe, I don't know how I should do this, maybe be quiet for a few minutes and let you guys kind of play with the website, and then give you guys a chance to feedback afterwards.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Thomas. That's very interesting. And I like the way that you kind of structure the presentation. I mean, instead of just showing us the output immediately, walk us through your kind of thinking process and some of the challenges. And I think it looks quite straightforward, but I think there must be a learning curve, right? Even, if there's no coding involved, but it looks like a very, very worthwhile endeavor, and a very meaningful and sustainable impact project for sure. I wonder if any students or colleagues here who may have a question for Thomas.
I can't see the chat when I've got it on here, so if you could, if you could bring them up for me.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Maybe I'll leave the page up with the grad skills, the upcoming grad skills workshops on there, just as another plug for those, because those really did help me get over the learning curve very much.
Yeah. Great. Michaela, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And congratulations, Thomas, because you did an amazing job. Really, really, it looks very interesting. I just wanted to ask you something that is really relevant, actually, for my students, because in one of the modules that I teach, I get the students build a very, very simple website on a blog page or even on WordPress. So, and they have to do like a very basic planning, and is just for building like a very simple website for foreign language students.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they are students, but they are in a language education. They're attending a language education module, and the task is building a few pages for self-learning, very simple course. And a discussion came up with my students in terms of the role of the person building the website. So how do you place yourself within the planning? I mean, are you planning to engage at all with your audience? Do you find that engaging in terms of perhaps setting up a forum where you can discuss with your users would be helpful or feasible? This is really a discussion that I'm having with my students. So it would be very interesting if you could give me your ideas on this. Thank you.
So I think, thank you for the question and for explaining that kind of teaching activity. I think that's really, really excellent. And in the context of a class, I would definitely do that, kind of setting up some kind of direct forum where it was, you as the teacher had that kind of interactive space with your kind of defined set of students that you're working with. But in terms of my personal manageability of a project, I'm kind of hesitant to take on things that are kind of going to spin out of my particular, kind of defined area of responsibilities, like moderating a forum, right? Or something that sounds like quite a big responsibility that might be ongoing there. So while I think like that's a really, really worthwhile thing to do in a classroom setting where, it's a course that has a defined term limit and with a set group of students and you as the teacher have the responsibility, what I would probably do for that same kind of audience engagement aspect would be to have kind of a rather than a forum, like a kind of message me, I don't know what you'd call it, like a contact me page, a button like under each section to with where someone could put, if they want it, I suppose it could be anonymous, or something where they put their contact details if they want, and they give you input or feedback in that way. That seems like it might be a little bit more manageable for me in this particular context. But I definitely recognize the value of what you were talking about there. So thanks.
Thank you. I'll definitely share your ideas with my students, and I'll tell them that I have the view of the expert, and see what they decide to do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
But hopefully that's encouraging to other people. You said that those students were using WordPress, that is something that's kind of student friendly as well. So again, yes,
exactly.
So I did do this 3-hour training, but it is the kind of thing that you could encourage a group of students to use, and I'm speaking directly to the audience of people that are here now. I'm really kind of encouraging you guys directly, like you can do it yourself.
Thanks. Just to read out for Thomas, Elizabeth's comment, she said she really likes the idea of hosting interviews with researchers. Seeing or hearing researchers in conversation with each other is so helpful. So that seems like to be a very useful feature. I think, unfortunately, time has run out, but you know who Thomas is, you know how to reach him. So if you have any comments or questions, or you're interested in knowing a little bit more about his ideas, his journey, do reach out to him. The other reason I think Thomas is so accessible is because he has built his own Pure profile. So I just want to add another plug here that we had run a Pure workshop for building your profile. And when I say you, I mean our DProf students. I would really take this opportunity to really encourage everybody, DProf students here, to think about having your own Pure profile page to display your professional and academic accomplishments and achievements. We have a recording on Moodle. I'll share the link later. But thanks very much, Thomas. I think that's extremely interesting. And you have something to say,
Could I just one final thing? I wanted to get some feedback from you guys in a more concrete way where I could digest it better. If people wouldn't mind, I put a little anonymous survey on there for getting feedback on the presentation and on the website more in general. It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, where you could just, if you did have any concrete ideas about the things that I mentioned, I would really, really appreciate that. So there's the QR code is right there, and I'll drop the link in the chat as well. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope this was useful for you.
And Thomas, if you can share the URL later, I can display that together with the recording on Moodle so that other students can also participate in the questionnaire.
Fantastic.
If you like that.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, cool. So thank you, everybody. We will have another one next month, and we will have a colleague who will be talking about his work on language testing and assessment. So do check the DProf calendar for more information. All right. Nice to see everybody. Take care.
Thanks.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.
Bye.